We all have that one spot, a seat at work, in class, at a cafe, that just feels right. And when someone else takes it, it can throw off your whole day. Why are we so attached to our favorite seats? Today, we'll explore the hidden reasons behind seat loyalty, how it shapes our routines, reflects our personalities, and connects us to something deeper. Let's find out what your favorite spot really says about you. Think about your favorite spot in the office break room. Maybe it's the chair next to the window where you get just enough sunlight and a view of the parking lot. Or maybe it's the spot in the corner where nobody walks behind you and you can relax for a moment. Most people have a place like this. You find the same pattern at school, where kids return to the same seat every day, even if nobody told them to. At home, someone claims the end of the couch, and that becomes their spot for every movie night. In your favorite cafe, maybe you head straight for the booth at the back, or the chair near the power outlet, without even thinking about it. Even in places like church, where pews and seats are often open, families drift back to the same row week after week. This small habit, always choosing the same place, shows up almost everywhere. This isn't just something that happens to you or me. Almost everyone does it, often without even realizing. In one office, there's a long table for meetings. The first time the team met, everyone picked a spot. Every meeting after that, those spots became unofficially assigned. People would smile and joke about it, but nobody ever swapped seats unless they had to. When a new person joined, they paused, scanning the room, hoping to pick a seat that didn't step on any invisible toes. Sometimes, if someone arrived late and found their seat taken, it threw off their whole morning. In schools, you see the same thing. In college lecture halls, students swarm in the first week, but by the second week, everyone knows where they belong. Friends stick together, but even then, they cluster in the same section. Walk in late, and you can spot the awkwardness when someone has to pick a new spot. It's as if the room itself expects everyone to return to their claimed territory. At home, the same pattern holds. Picture a family dinner table. Everyone has a seat. The oldest child might always sit across from the TV, while the youngest prefers the chair closest to the kitchen. If someone else sits in your spot, you notice. Even when nobody says anything, you feel a flicker of discomfort. On the couch, each person has a favorite side or cushion. If a guest takes the corner, you might hesitate, unsure where to sit. In cafes, you see people glance around and make a beeline for a certain table, not because it's reserved, but because it feels like theirs. Maybe it's near the window, or it's a little out of the way. Regulars claim their spot with a subtle sense of ownership. They don't leave a sign, but you can see it in the way they settle in, as if the chair knows them. Places of worship are no different. Many people return to the same seat every service. Sometimes it's the third pew from the front on the left. For others, it's the aisle seat at the back. The seat becomes part of the ritual. When someone else sits there, people notice, even if they don't say a word. The sense of place becomes tied to the experience of the service. Why does this happen everywhere across so many different spaces? One reason is that humans look for patterns. When we enter a new place, there's a small dose of uncertainty. Picking a seat is one way to add structure. The first choice is random, but it quickly turns into a preference. The next time you come in, you return to the same spot. It feels comfortable and safe. Your brain tells you this is your place, and you follow that cue. There's also something about territory. Even in shared spaces, people carve out small zones that feel like their own. It's a quiet, polite way of marking space. You don't put up a sign or draw a line, but your presence is a kind of signal. Others notice, often without words. In a crowded office, everyone knows who sits where. In a cafe, regulars know which tables are usually taken. This kind of seat loyalty helps keep the peace. It lets people find their comfort zone without conflict. Routine plays a big part too. Once you sit somewhere a few times, it takes effort to pick another place. Your brain is already primed to head to your spot. When someone else takes it, even by accident, it feels like a small violation. It isn't logical, but it's real. People who travel on buses or trains often have a favorite seat. If someone else gets there first, the whole ride feels off. The routine is broken. Part of this habit is about control. There are many things in life we can't decide: deadlines, traffic, the weather. Picking a seat is a small way to control our own world. In a busy coffee shop, finding your usual spot gives you a sense of order. In a meeting, sitting in your seat gives you one less thing to think about. It's one piece of the day you can count on. This need for a familiar place can even affect how well we focus. In classrooms, students who always sit in the same spot might find it easier to pay attention. They know what to expect. They're less distracted by the room or by searching for a new seat. In the workplace, the same pattern appears. Someone who always works from the same desk might feel more settled, more ready to get things done. The habit can last for years. Someone might use the same seat in a church or cafe for decades. When a place changes, if furniture moves, or if someone else claims the spot, people notice, and sometimes they even complain. They aren't being difficult, they're just following a habit that helps them feel at ease. None of this is about being selfish or unfriendly. Most people don't mind sharing. If someone asks politely, they'll move. But the pull of the familiar is strong. Even when we know it doesn't matter, it still feels wrong to break the routine. The sense of belonging to a spot is quiet but powerful. So next time you walk into a room and drift toward a familiar seat, know you're not alone. It's a tiny act, but it connects you to millions of people, everywhere, doing the same thing, finding a bit of order in a crowded world, and quietly, calmly, claiming a place to call your own. When you walk into a room and choose a seat, something subtle takes place. Even if you don't speak, your body, your bag, or your coat sends a message. This spot is taken. This quiet act is called territoriality. It happens everywhere. You don't hang a sign or mark your chair, but people pick up the signal. Others notice, and most of the time, respect your silent claim. At work, if you leave a mug at your desk, your coworkers know it's your spot. In a cafe, a book or a laptop does the same thing. In a classroom, a jacket draped over the back of a chair means someone has claimed the seat. This behavior is built into how people manage shared spaces. It helps avoid friction. Everyone knows the unspoken rules. If you ever walk into a meeting room and see bags on chairs, you know those seats are not really up for grabs. If you have ever arrived at your usual cafe table only to find someone else's notebook there, you pause and look for another place. It's all part of an invisible system. No one explains it, but everyone learns to read it. Choosing and keeping a seat isn't only about territory. It also helps people manage anxiety. When you find your usual seat, you feel calm. The world feels less random and more predictable. Even small routines like this can help steady your nerves. At school, some students return to the same desk day after day. That little bit of sameness can help make a busy day feel easier. In offices, workers often set up their desk in a certain way and sit there every day. They know where everything is. They can focus on work without having to adjust to a new spot. In restaurants, families often ask for the same table. It's comfortable. It gives a sense of control. Routine is a big part of this process. People form habits fast, sometimes after only a few visits to a place. You might sit in a new seat the first day, but by the third day you go straight to the same spot. Your brain remembers what felt right. The habit locks in. Even when the room is empty, you return to your chosen seat. After a while, it's hard to switch. If you travel on the same bus each day, you might always choose the same side, even if it makes no real difference. The mind likes patterns. They help us save time and energy. We don't have to think about where to go. We just go. Gender and environment can shape how seat loyalty works. In some cases, men may be more direct about claiming a spot, while women may use quieter cues or group together with friends. In a busy classroom, boys may grab seats near the front or back to show confidence or mark territory. Girls may choose seats together for comfort and support. But this is not a strict rule. The type of space also matters. In a library, the person who arrives first quietly spreads out books to mark a spot. In a cafe, a regular customer might use a coat or a laptop to make a claim. At home, parents sometimes assign seats at the table, while kids quickly turn them into their places. The drive for seat loyalty is also about cognitive efficiency. The brain looks for ways to save energy. When you have a routine, you don't have to make new decisions every time. You know where you're going to sit. It's one less thing to think about. This frees up mental space for other tasks. In an office, Knowing your spot means you can settle in quickly and get to work. In a classroom, finding your desk each day lets you focus on lessons instead of scanning the room. This small bit of certainty helps the mind stay sharp for more important decisions. People often add a personal touch to public spaces. This is a way to make them feel more private and comfortable. In a workplace, employees decorate their desks with photos, mugs, or plants. In schools, students might add stickers or pencil cases to their desks. These little signs help turn a shared place into something that feels more like home. In a cafe, you might see someone who always orders the same drink and sits in the same corner. After a while, it feels like their space, even though it belongs to everyone. This act of personalization serves a purpose. It helps you feel grounded. Even in a busy public place, you can create a sense of comfort and safety. You settle in, make the space your own, and then you can relax. This doesn't mean people don't like change. It just means that in the middle of change, a little routine helps balance things out. Imagine a busy classroom on the first day. Students walk in and glance around, trying to find a seat. Some choose quickly. Others hang back, looking for a place that feels right. After a few days, the same students start sitting in the same places. They leave their books on the desk. They say hello to the same neighbors. The room starts to feel more familiar, less overwhelming. The act of choosing and keeping a seat makes the group feel more at ease. Even the teacher starts to recognize the pattern, calling on students in the same order. Now think about a regular at a cafe. Each morning, she comes in, orders her drink, and sits at the same table by the window. The staff knows her order. Other customers see her and know not to take that table if she's around. She sets her bag down, takes out her laptop, and starts her day. The seat is public, but it has become hers through use and routine. This ritual is simple but powerful. It gives her a sense of ownership and calm in a busy world. Even in shared homes, the same pattern appears. Siblings might argue over who gets to sit where on the couch. Over time, everyone picks a side or a cushion. If someone sits in the wrong spot, there's a moment of tension. But soon enough, the routine returns. In the kitchen, someone always stands by the stove, someone else leans against the counter. These habits form quickly and stick because they bring comfort. This pattern of seat loyalty shows how people use space to meet basic needs for comfort, control, and identity. The urge to claim and personalize a spot may look simple, but it shapes the way people act in all kinds of places. By finding a seat and making it their own, people create small islands of order in the busy, unpredictable flow of daily life. Scientists have spent years studying why people return to the same seat in shared spaces. At first, this might seem like a small habit, but research shows it goes deeper. Harvard Business Review looked into office behavior and found that most workers claim the same desk every day, even in workplaces with open seating. These habits form fast. Once someone picks a spot, they keep it, even if they have the freedom to move. The study found that only a small number of people switch desks unless they must. A team at the University of Bologna studied classroom seating. They tracked college students over several weeks and noticed a strong pattern. By the second week of class, most students sat in the same seat they chose on day one. The habit stuck for the rest of the term. The researchers found that out of a classroom with dozens of seats, students used only about 2.4% of the available seating options. The rest of the chairs stayed empty, day after day. Even when teachers encouraged students to move, few did. This low number means people are not exploring their options. They are not searching for the best seat each time. Instead, they find a spot early on and stick with it. This pattern is not just about habit. It's about feeling comfortable and secure in a predictable place. If someone else takes a regular seat, the disruption is noticeable, even if the person does not say anything. Researchers also looked at the reasons behind this pattern. One reason is stress reduction. When people know where they will sit, they have one less decision to make in a busy day. It saves mental energy. This is called cognitive efficiency. The brain uses less power when it can rely on a routine. In a world full of choices, this small bit of certainty matters. Another reason is social comfort. People tend to sit near others they know. In classrooms, friends cluster together. New students often take empty seats at the edges to avoid stepping into a group's territory. In meetings, coworkers will return to the same spots to stay close to teammates or avoid those they find difficult to work with. These patterns are easy to spot if you pay attention. A study in an open-plan office tracked workers with wearable sensors. The data showed that workers chose desks near those they trusted or worked with the most. Even if the office had hot desking, where no desk is assigned, people still gravitated to the same areas. Some tried to claim their spot by leaving a sweater or a mug. Others just arrived early to make sure they got their place. The office was full of empty desks, but regulars rarely moved. At home, the same effect appears. Psychologists have tracked family routines at dinner tables. In most families, each person picks a chair, often early in life. These choices become a fixed part of family life. If a guest visits and takes a regular's chair, there can be a small moment of confusion or discomfort. The family might joke about it, but the feeling is real. The regular seat offers comfort, routine, and a sense of belonging. Real-world examples help show how this habit forms. In one classroom, a teacher noticed students always sat in the same seats. One day, she asked them to switch places. The students agreed, but the next day, almost all of them went back to their usual spot. She tried several more times, but the pattern stayed. The students had locked in their choices, and moving felt wrong, even if there was no rule against it. In a large company, the office manager tried to promote flexibility by removing assigned desks. For a few weeks, workers wandered and picked new spots. Soon, clusters formed. People grouped near windows or coffee machines, but after that, the pattern settled. Employees returned to the same desks every morning. The office had empty spaces, but those went untouched. Some left personal items at their desks, even if it was not allowed, just to make it feel like home. When the company moved to a new building, the same routine started again. Within a week, the patterns had returned. Researchers also studied students in lecture halls. In a hall with 300 seats, about 200 students attended class. After the first few days, each student found a seat and stuck to it. Only a handful changed seats over the semester. Some students said they felt off if they had to sit in a different place. They had made a mental connection between their learning and their seat. The feeling of routine helped them focus. This habit goes beyond comfort. The way people claim and keep a spot sends messages to others. In offices, people who always sit at the head of a table are often seen as leaders. Those who take seats near exits may be signaling a need for a quick escape or less attention. In classrooms, students who sit at the front are often seen as more engaged. Those who stick to the back may want to stay unnoticed. These patterns affect group dynamics, even if no one speaks about it. Studies show that changing seats can make people uneasy. In one case, researchers at the University of Bologna asked students to switch seats each week. Many students reported feeling distracted and less settled. They spent extra time finding their new place and did not interact as much with new neighbors. When allowed to return to their usual seats, their focus improved, and so did their comfort. Family routines can be strong too. In some homes, a parent has their chair for watching TV, while a child has a place at the dinner table. The family does not have to talk about it. Everyone just knows. When the routine breaks, like during holidays or with guests, people notice. Sometimes they joke about it, but the urge to return to normal is strong. All this research points to a few clear ideas. People like order and routine. They feel safer and more at ease when they can control something as simple as a seat. Even with choices available, most will stick to what is familiar. The data shows that whether in classrooms, offices, or homes, the pattern repeats. A small share of seats are used again and again, and most others stay empty. The science explains the behavior, but it's easy to see it all around us if you take a moment to look. People who stick to the same seat over and over tend to share certain personality traits. You can often spot these traits in how they approach not only seating, but many parts of their lives. The first trait is consistency. People who show seat loyalty value patterns and routines. They like knowing what to expect. In their daily life, you might see this in the way they keep a regular morning routine, or how they stick to a workout schedule. For them, repetition is not boring. It's a source of comfort. They know what works for them and don't feel the need to change for the sake of change. Control is another trait that shows up in seat-loyal people. They often want to have a say in their environment, even in small ways. By choosing the same seat, they carve out a piece of control in a world that can feel uncertain. Someone who always sits by the door in a meeting room might want an easy exit or just likes the feeling of having an escape plan. A person who picks a spot with a view may want to see everything happening around them. These choices are not random. They help the person feel a bit more in charge of what's happening. Security also plays a big role. Some people are drawn to the same seat because it helps them feel safe. This doesn't always mean physical safety. Sometimes it's emotional or psychological. When you know where you'll be sitting, you avoid surprises. In a new or crowded place, having a familiar seat can make everything feel more manageable. Kids who are nervous at school may pick a desk and stick to it because it gives them a base, a safe zone they can count on. Adults feel the same way in meetings, restaurants, or on public transport. Predictability is a close cousin to consistency. People with high seat loyalty prefer situations where they know what will happen next. They choose the same seat so they don't have to waste energy on small decisions. They want the world around them to run on something close to autopilot, at least in the little details. You can see this trait in people who use the same route to work every day, order the same coffee, or have a favorite dish at a restaurant. This predictability helps lower stress and free up attention for other things. Attachment is another interesting quality. Some people grow attached to certain places, objects, or routines. Seat loyalty is a small example, but it can point to a deeper pattern. Someone who uses the same mug each morning or who always puts their bag in the same spot at work is showing a kind of attachment. This isn't just habit. It's a way of forming a small bond with part of their environment. That bond can help them feel more grounded, especially in situations that are busy or stressful. Orderliness shows up too. People who are seat loyal often value a tidy, structured world. They don't like chaos. Choosing a seat and sticking to it is a small way to create order. These people might keep their workspace organized, keep a neat home, or follow lists to plan their day. The seat becomes one more detail in a world they keep in line. Adaptability, on the other hand, may not be as strong for seat-loyal people. If someone else takes their seat, it can throw them off. This isn't because they're inflexible, but because they've invested comfort and familiarity in that spot. When they have to adapt, it may take them a few minutes to settle in. In a group, you might notice that some people adjust quickly if their seat is taken, while others linger or hesitate before choosing a new spot. Personality traits like introversion and extroversion also shape seat loyalty. Introverts may seek out the same quiet corner in a cafe or classroom, wanting to avoid being the center of attention. Extroverts might claim a spot in the middle of the action, near the busiest part of the room. In both cases, the person's approach to choosing a seat matches their need for social contact or privacy. A student who likes to watch but not join in may always sit at the back. A worker who enjoys chatting may claim a spot near the coffee machine. Another angle is self-awareness. People who return to the same seat often know what helps them work or relax. They aren't just drifting, they've paid attention to what works for them. That level of self-knowledge helps them make choices that fit their needs. If someone always picks the seat with the best view or the least noise, they are tuning in to what matters most to them. These traits show up in other parts of life. Someone who is consistent with seating might also stick to other routines. They might keep a planner, remember people's birthdays, or always arrive at appointments early. A person who values control in seating may also take charge of group projects or set boundaries in personal relationships. Security-minded people may stay close to friends at social events or check in before making big changes. People who rely on predictability can be steady and dependable, the kind of people others count on. Those who form attachments may have close friendships and sentimental keepsakes. Orderly people may keep things running smoothly at home or work. Those who find change hard may need extra time to adjust, but will settle in once they get the hang of things. Each of these qualities helps explain why someone might keep returning to the same seat. Imagine a team meeting. The seat-loyal person arrives early, claims their usual spot, and sets out their notebook and pen. If the seat is open, they relax and get ready. If someone else has taken it, they pause, weigh their options, and may seem distracted for a few minutes. At a family dinner, the same person sits at the end of the table every night, a habit that feels almost like a ritual. In a classroom, they drift to the same seat in the second row, always close enough to hear, but not front and center. All these actions are quiet signs of deeper traits: consistency, control, security, predictability, attachment, orderliness, and a particular way of handling change. People may not talk about why they do these things. Sometimes they don't even notice. But you can read these small choices as clues to how someone thinks and feels, and how they move through the world, one seat at a time. Every morning at the office, the parking lot fills up with cars in the same pattern. Early arrivals pick the best spots, close to the door or under a shady tree. Over time, the pattern becomes so set that you could walk through the lot and know who has arrived just by looking at the cars. If someone new parks in a regular spot, it throws off the whole routine. One worker, who always parked by the fence, came in late one day to find that space taken. He circled the lot, uneasy, before parking somewhere else. All morning, he felt unsettled. The spot had become part of his workday rhythm, and missing out on it made everything feel off. His coworkers noticed he was distracted and joked about his lucky spot. He laughed, but it was clear that the small change in routine left its mark. Even in a simple parking lot, people find a way to make a claim and form a habit. In schools, students do the same thing. On the first day of class, everyone chooses a desk. For some, it's a random choice. For others, it's more deliberate. One student in the back row likes to watch the room and keep a low profile. Another sits in the front to hear better or to stay focused. By the second or third day, these choices become habits. The desk turns into my desk, even though nobody owns it. If a new student joins or a substitute teacher moves the seating chart, the class shuffles uncomfortably. Students whisper, glance around, and some try to swap back to their favorite spot as soon as possible. For one high school student, her desk by the window became her retreat during stressful days. The sunlight, the view, and the predictability gave her a sense of comfort. When someone else sat there, she struggled to concentrate. The simple act of returning to the same seat day after day became a quiet anchor in her school life. The same habit appears at home. Around the family dinner table, everyone tends to have a usual seat. Over time, these seats become part of family routine. The oldest sibling might always sit near the kitchen, ready to help with serving. The youngest may claim the seat by the window, hoping for a better view. Parents have their spots too. One father always sits at the head of the table, reaching for the salt or checking on the conversation. If guests visit and seats get shuffled, the mood can shift. Family members glance at each other, unsure where to sit. The meal goes on, but the usual flow feels interrupted. On the living room couch, people show the same patterns. After years of sharing a sofa, each person has a cushion or section that feels like home. One teenager always sprawls in the corner with her phone. Her brother claims the middle, feet up on the coffee table. Parents each have a favorite armrest. These silent rules form over time, and everyone knows them. If a guest sits in the wrong place, family members may exchange looks or gently guide them to another spot. The couch becomes more than furniture. It's a map of daily life, with boundaries drawn by habit. In public places, the pattern repeats itself. In movie theaters, many people arrive early not only for a better view, but for the comfort of a favorite section. Some always sit near the back for a quick exit, while others pick the middle for the best sound. Regular moviegoers may even have an unofficial, usual seat in a certain row. If someone else sits there, the regular feels thrown off, even in a room full of empty seats. At the snack counter, the conversation often includes a mention of where everyone prefers to sit. It's a small but real part of the outing. In cafés, the same silent system takes shape. Regular customers develop a routine. One woman stops in every morning before work. She orders her coffee and sits at a table by the window. The barista knows her by name and sets her usual drink down without asking. If someone else is at her table, she pauses, sometimes scanning the room for another seat that feels right. She tries a new table, but it doesn't feel the same. Her morning routine is built around that spot. The regulars recognize each other and share a quiet agreement about where everyone sits. Newcomers might not notice, but after a few visits, even they start picking favorites. In busy cafes, this can lead to a quiet dance as people arrive early to claim their seat or linger a bit longer, hoping their table opens up. The loyalty to a favorite seat isn't about the chair itself. It's about what that seat represents: familiarity, comfort, and a sense of belonging. Even when the space is public, the act of returning to the same spot makes it feel more personal. In a library, students claim certain tables during study season. Over weeks, they set up routines, charging laptops, spreading out notes, leaving jackets to mark their place during short breaks. The table becomes a temporary home. Others learn to respect the invisible lines. If someone takes a regular spot, the newcomer might notice quiet glances or small signs of discomfort. Even at places like church, families drift back to the same pews week after week. The routine becomes part of the experience, a layer of comfort in a shared ritual. One family sits 3 rows from the front left side every Sunday. If they arrive late and find the row full, the service feels different. They listen and participate, but the shift in routine lingers. The pew is more than a seat. It's a small piece of stability in the week. Sometimes these habits lead to gentle conflicts or quiet negotiations. In workplaces, someone might mention that they always park in a certain spot, and coworkers learn to respect it. At home, siblings may tease each other for taking their spot on the couch, leading to playful arguments. In school, a teacher might rearrange desks to shake things up, but students often return to their favorites when given the chance. In cafes and theaters, people sometimes wait a bit longer or come earlier to secure their preferred spot. Over time, these routines become part of the story of a place. The parking spot, the desk, the dinner table seat, the cafe chair, they all hold meaning built up from daily use. People often don't talk about it, but the comfort these habits provide is clear. When the routine is broken, even in small ways, it's felt. The world feels slightly less familiar until the pattern returns. This quiet loyalty shapes the way people move through spaces, drawing invisible maps of comfort and belonging in everyday life. People have claimed spots for a long time, much longer than modern offices, schools, or coffee shops have been around. The habit may seem simple, but it has deep roots. In early human groups, having a familiar place to sleep or gather was more than a comfort. It was a matter of survival. If you knew your spot around the campfire or near the cave entrance, you could keep track of your group and feel safer. It was easier to know who was missing, who was nearby, and who might be a stranger. Your spot helped you claim a bit of control in a world that offered few guarantees. Researchers think this drive to claim space is not just learned, but built into the way people think. In the wild, many animals show the same pattern. Birds return to the same branch. Wolves bed down in the same hollow. Chimps pick the same tree to sleep in every night, even in a huge forest. Claiming and defending a space means less confusion and fewer fights. Over time, our ancestors may have copied these patterns. Having a home base helped everyone know where to gather, rest, or hide from danger. For people, these early choices became habits. If you always slept in the same part of the cave, you didn't have to worry about finding a safe place every night. Your family or tribe could look for you more easily. If trouble came, you could find your people quickly. This small bit of order made life less risky. Even simple routines, like sitting in the same spot around the fire, helped everyone know their role and keep peace in the group. These habits didn't go away as life changed. When people began to build permanent homes, they made clear spaces for cooking, sleeping, and gathering. Each person had a place at the table, a bed to call their own, or a corner for their tools. These patterns gave comfort and helped avoid arguments. If someone took your place without asking, it sent a signal that could start a conflict. Boundaries mattered, and spots became part of family and village life. As societies grew and changed, so did the ways people claimed space. In markets and meeting places, people set up in the same area day after day. Shopkeepers put their stalls in familiar places. Friends gathered in their usual spots. Towns developed routines, and everyone learned the layout. Even in cities, families and groups marked out their places in parks, at festivals, or in local bars. The idea of a favorite spot stayed strong, even as the world became more crowded and fast-paced. When you look at different cultures, you find both differences and surprising similarities in seat loyalty. In some places, the habit is strict. In rural Japan, families may sit in the same spots for every meal, with a clear pecking order that never changes. Elders take the seat of honor, while children sit at the end of the table. If someone sits out of turn, it feels wrong, even disrespectful. In England, regulars in a pub will gather in the same corner for years. If a stranger tries to take a regular's seat, the group will make their claim clear, sometimes with a quiet word, sometimes with a look. Other places are more flexible. In some parts of Italy or Spain, people move seats often when eating with friends. The focus is on the group, not the spot. But even here, people may return to the same cafe table every morning or stand at the same counter for coffee. In busy markets in Morocco, shopkeepers develop their place over time, decorating it with familiar objects, creating a small oasis in the chaos. Even in open or communal cultures, people find ways to carve out a bit of routine. Universities and schools in different countries also reveal both patterns. In the United States, students tend to claim seats early in the semester and keep them unless a teacher assigns new places. In some Scandinavian countries, students move more often but still develop usual places over time. In French cafes, the idea of a regular's table is strong. Waiters may greet customers by name and lead them straight to their spot, day after day. Even in cultures with different approaches to space, the need for a familiar place shows up. Some nomadic groups move their camps often, but within each new camp, family groups tend to set up in the same pattern. Each person knows where to put their sleeping mat, cooking pot, or tools. The layout of the group changes, but the routine stays the same. This helps everyone settle in, even in a shifting landscape. The way people mark and defend their spot also varies. In the United States or Canada, people often use small signs, a jacket on a chair, a coffee cup on a desk, to claim their space. In crowded cities like Mumbai, people form long lines for buses, but once on board, regulars may have favorite seats they hope to claim each morning. On trains in Germany or France, commuters often return to the same car, or even the same seat, for years. These acts may not be spoken about, but everyone understands them. Some cultures have special rituals around space. In Korean homes, guests remove their shoes and may be guided to a special seat, often reserved for the most respected person. In Indian homes, elders often have a chair or place on a mat that belongs to them alone. In Maasai villages in Kenya, the chief sits in a certain place during meetings, a spot known and respected by all. These habits help show respect and keep order, but they also tie people to their history and their group. At sports events, fans around the world form strong attachments to certain seats. Season ticket holders often return to the same spot year after year. In Brazil, families bring blankets to claim a patch of grass in public parks. In Russia, theatergoers value their favorite box or balcony seat. The feeling is the same everywhere, a sense of comfort, belonging, and a bit of pride in knowing a place so well. Even when people move or travel, the urge to find a home base follows them. Business travelers may choose the same hotel chain or ask for the same room number. Migrants and expats seek out cafes, shops, or parks that feel familiar. The need to claim a bit of space is one of the ways people make sense of a changing world. The reasons behind these patterns are simple but strong. People want safety, routine, and a way to say, "I belong here." Whether in a cave, a city, or a crowded cafe, the drive to find and keep a spot remains. It shapes cultures in big and small ways and connects people across time and distance. The details may shift, but the instinct stays the same. When someone takes your usual seat, you notice right away. You walk into the room and, without thinking, your eyes go to your spot. Maybe you see a stranger sitting there, or maybe it's a coworker who arrived before you. At first, there's a flicker of surprise. It feels strange, almost like walking into your house and finding someone else using your favorite mug. The feeling is quiet but real, a little jolt that can ripple through your mood for the rest of the day. Many people say this moment feels uncomfortable. Some describe it as a sense of being unmoored or out of place. One office worker explained that the day she found her chair taken in the break room, she stood frozen for a few seconds, not knowing what to do. She tried to laugh it off, but all morning she felt distracted. It was as if her day had started wrong and nothing would quite fit back into place. Another person remembered being a student in a large lecture hall. One morning, he arrived to find a classmate in his usual seat. He sat a few rows back and spent the whole class glancing at the front, feeling a step behind. His notes made less sense. He realized later how much he depended on routine to feel ready and focused. These moments show up in many settings. At the family dinner table, a visiting cousin once sat in the chair the youngest child always used. No one said anything, but the child hovered nearby, unsure where to go. Dinner was quieter than usual. Afterward, her parents found her at the kitchen table, eating dessert in her usual seat. In a church, one member told the story of arriving late to a service and seeing a visitor in his family's regular pew. Instead of taking another seat nearby, he chose a spot at the far side of the room. He spent the hour feeling like a guest in his own place of worship, waiting for things to return to normal. People react in different ways when seat loyalty is challenged. Some try to reclaim their spot. A student might put a book or a bag on their desk early to save it. An office worker might arrive a few minutes earlier just to be sure they get their chair by the window. Some will circle the room, waiting for the spot to open up. They might chat with friends or make small talk, but their eyes keep drifting back to their place. Others adapt, but the process is not always smooth. When a favorite seat is taken, some people pick the closest spot and try to settle in. They may fidget or glance over at the old seat, waiting for a chance to move back. One man who commuted by train every morning described the feeling. He usually claimed a seat near the door. One day, another passenger sat there first. He picked a spot further back, but the ride felt long and strange. He kept thinking about his usual seat, almost as if he had forgotten something important at home. Some people try to reason with themselves. They remind themselves that the seat is not actually theirs, that anyone has a right to sit there. They may even feel embarrassed by how much it bothers them. A teacher who had her spot taken at a staff meeting tried to ignore the feeling, but found herself distracted for the rest of the discussion. She knew it shouldn't matter, but it did. Sometimes people speak up. In small groups or tight-knit teams, someone might politely point out, "I usually sit there. Would you mind switching?" In families, a child may simply say, "That's my seat." The request is usually honored, but not always without a little tension. In workplaces, people are more likely to use signals. They leave a jacket, a laptop, or a mug on the desk. These small claims are a way to say, "This spot matters to me," without starting an argument. When people have to adjust, they often look for ways to make the new seat feel familiar. They might move their coffee cup or phone the same way they did before. A student who lost her favorite seat in the library brought her usual snacks and water bottle to the new table, setting them out in the same pattern. She said it helped her settle in, even though the view was different. Another person in a busy office tried to claim a new favorite seat after a reorganization. He decorated it with the same plant and family photo, hoping to make the change easier. For some, losing a spot is a chance to try something new. A woman who always sat near the cafe entrance found her table taken one day. She chose a spot in the back, near the window. At first, it felt wrong, but after a few days, she started to like the new view. She found herself talking to different people and even discovering a new favorite drink. When her old table opened up again, she stayed where she was. For her, the challenge became an opportunity. Others feel the loss more deeply. A teenager who always sat at the same place at the lunch table lost his seat when new students joined. For weeks, he wandered from table to table, not quite finding a new home. The lunch period, once a break in his day, became something to endure. His teachers noticed he was quieter and less engaged. Over time, with help from friends, he found a new group and a new spot, but the shift left a mark. Sometimes, people use humor to deal with the change. In one office, a running joke developed after a new hire sat in the manager's usual chair. Each day, someone put a note or a toy on the chair as a reservation. The light mood helped everyone adapt, but the seat was still unofficially off limits. Strategies for dealing with a lost spot often mix old habits with new ones. Some people reclaim their seat with silent signals or by arriving early. Others try to adapt, making small changes to help the new space feel more like theirs. Some use humor or social cues to manage the discomfort. Over time, most people find a way to settle back in, either by returning to the old seat or by finding comfort in a new place. The process can take a few minutes, or it can last for weeks, depending on the person and the place. These reactions, small as they seem, reveal how much meaning people attach to routine and comfort. The quiet tug of seat loyalty shapes daily life, sometimes in ways that are easy to miss, until the moment that pattern is broken. Then, the feelings and choices that follow tell their own story about belonging, habit, and the search for a bit of order in a busy world. When you think about your favorite seat, you might not give it much thought. But the spot you choose and how you respond when someone else takes it can reveal a lot about you. There is a reason you walk into a room and move straight to a certain chair. Maybe you choose the seat near the window because you like the view. Maybe you prefer the edge of the table so you can get up and leave without making a scene. Or maybe you always settle in the middle of the group where you feel most connected to others. The pattern you follow says something about how you approach predictability, boundaries, connection, and change. If you find yourself choosing the same seat every time, you likely value predictability. You look for routines that make life smoother and quieter. Your seat becomes a small anchor in a world that often changes. When you know what to expect, you can relax. The seat is a symbol of order. A student who always picks the same desk, a commuter who rides in the same train car, or a cafe regular who sits in the same booth, they all find calm in predictability. This trait can be useful in other parts of life. You might enjoy planning ahead or sticking to schedules. You like knowing where things are and what comes next. Some people choose their spot based on boundaries. If you always pick a seat on the end of a row, close to an exit, you may value your independence. You want the option to move, to leave, or to have a bit of space between you and others. This does not mean you are unfriendly. It just means you are careful about your personal space and who you share it with. You set limits, even in small ways. At home, you may keep your belongings organized, your side of the bed just so, your part of the closet arranged the way you like. At work, you might keep your desk neat and use small items to mark your space. Your seat choice is a quiet way of saying, "This is my area." Others look for connection when choosing a seat. They pick a place close to friends or in the middle of the action. They want to join in conversations and feel part of the group. If this is you, you likely enjoy group work and value being included. You look for ways to bridge gaps between people. You might strike up a conversation with the person sitting next to you or share a table in a busy cafe just to avoid eating alone. Your seat is a tool for building bonds, and you feel comfortable in the middle of the group. At home, you might gather the family for meals or be the one who organizes get-togethers. At work, you sit near teammates so you can share ideas and keep in touch with what's going on. Some people choose their spot out of habit but are not bothered when they have to move. If you can adapt easily when someone takes your seat, you probably handle change well. You may have preferences, but you do not feel stuck when things shift. This trait can be seen in other ways. You may switch up your routine when needed, travel to new places, or take on new tasks without complaint. When your usual spot is gone, you pick another and settle in. You know comfort can be found anywhere if you give it time. On the other hand, if losing your seat unsettles you, you may be someone who finds change hard. You might take longer to get comfortable with new routines. You notice the small ways your day is thrown off when your routine is broken. This awareness is not a weakness. It just means you value stability. You put effort into making spaces your own and feel best when you know what to expect. Your spot may also show how you handle boundaries with others. If you let someone take your seat without a word, you might avoid conflict. You could be the type who puts other people's needs ahead of your own. If you ask for your spot back, even gently, you are more likely to stand up for yourself in other parts of your life. Your response to these small moments often mirrors your larger habits. Imagine for a moment a short quiz, a way to check in with yourself about what your seat habits mean. As you listen, think through your own answers. When you walk into a familiar space, do you go straight to your usual spot or do you look for a new one each time? When someone else sits where you usually do, how do you feel? Do you shrug and move on, or do you feel a bit off balance for a while? If you had to switch seats for a month, would you settle in or count down the days until you could move back? When choosing a seat, do you pick a place near others, off to the side, or by the exit? What does that say about how you connect or protect your boundaries? Do you add small touches like a jacket, a coffee mug, or a stack of papers to make your spot feel more like yours? When the group has to rearrange, are you the first to pick a new seat, or do you hang back, hoping your spot will open up again? In your day-to-day life, do you seek out routines and comfort, or do you welcome variety? You might realize you fit more than one pattern. Most people do. You may enjoy the comfort of routine at work, but seek connection and new experiences in social settings. Or maybe you find you adapt well at home, but like a strict routine at school or in your favorite cafe. Picture a few scenarios. You join a new team at work and everyone grabs seats around the table. Do you pick a spot at the edge, close to the door, or do you jump into the middle? A friend invites you to a new restaurant. Do you scope out the room and pick a seat with a view, or wait for your friend to decide? When your usual table at the coffee shop is full, do you walk out, try a new spot, or wait for it to open up? Your answers to these questions do not just show how you sit. They reveal what you value: order, freedom, connection, or flexibility. Over time, your habits around seats and spaces build up a picture of your needs and your strengths. You may find that you enjoy certain routines for the comfort they give, or you may realize you thrive on change. The way you claim or release a spot is part of your story. It ties into how you build boundaries, handle conflict, seek out comfort, and connect with others. Noticing these patterns can help you understand yourself a bit better. The next time you walk into a room and drift to your usual seat or look for a new one, pause and consider what you are really looking for. Sometimes, the quiet choices we make with seats tell us more about ourselves than we might expect. Think back to all the places you return to the same seat: at work, at school, in your favorite cafe, around the dinner table at home. It might feel like a small detail, but it is rarely just a habit. Your choice of seat says something about you. Maybe it gives you a sense of order in a busy day, or helps you feel a bit more comfortable in a public space. Maybe you are looking for a way to connect with others, or maybe you are quietly setting a boundary. The pull to return to a familiar spot is not random. It has roots in how people handle change, seek security, and find small ways to control their world. The pattern runs through all kinds of spaces. In the office, someone might always sit near the window, close to the light, because it helps them focus. At school, a student claims a desk and finds it easier to settle in and learn when things feel predictable. At home, the end of the couch or a certain seat at the table becomes a part of the daily rhythm, giving comfort and a sense of place. Even when these choices are quiet, they matter. They help build routines that carry people through days that are often full of noise, new faces, or shifting demands. The science shows how quickly these patterns form and how strong the pull of routine can be. People use only a small part of the seats available, not because they lack options, but because the familiar is soothing. These small choices offer a bit of certainty, and over time, they add up to something bigger: a sense of belonging and a way to navigate the world with a little less friction. Next time you walk into a room and drift to your usual spot, pause for a moment. Notice what you are really seeking. Is it comfort, routine, connection, or just a small space to call your own for a little while? If your spot is taken, how do you react? What does that say about your need for order, your ability to adapt, or your approach to change? These are quiet questions, but they can tell you something useful about how you move through your days.